Hello guys, this is Trinity Storm here and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to do 5th part of Naruto the Unknown Dojutsu. If you enjoy this video, please like, share and subscribe to my channel. Now wasting no more time, let's start the story.
Naruto brushed any suspicious thoughts from his mind and went to sleep after his test was completed. After an hour, Ibiki and the Chunins gathered all of the test papers they had taken. According to him, more than half of the genins in the room failed the written test. He returned to the front and cleared his throat. Let us begin the final question now that all the weak-minded have left. You have the option of responding or not. If you do not respond, you will automatically fail. If you choose to answer it but get it wrong, you will never be able to retake these exams and remain a genin for the rest of your life. He clarified. Anyone who doesn't want to take a chance should leave now. As soon as he said that, a few shinobi began to flee. Naruto and the other Konoha shinobi maintained a confident demeanor throughout. Ibiki looked around the room after the last genin had left. Is there anyone else who wants to go? He looked around for others for several minutes, but no one dared to leave. Ibiki took a deep breath and resumed speaking. To everyone who is still here, you pass, he said, drawing shocked looks from everyone inside. What? How? Kiba inquired. If you remember him from earlier, Shikamaru began. He stated that if we are caught cheating, we will be penalized. That's why we had to cheat without being discovered. A Chunin is expected to gather information from enemies while remaining undetected. The final test was to see if we had what it took to be Chunin rank. A Chunin is expected to lead and inspire his teammates to believe in themselves. Everyone looked at him in awe and surprise as he explained. Exactly, smirked Ibiki before looking at the clock above the door. Alright, the first round of exams is finished. Now you must wait for your next proctor to arrive. He grabbed all of the papers on the teacher's table. Good luck to everyone, he said before finally departing. As soon as he walked away, a kunai flew in through the window and into the wall beside the door. Before they noticed what was hanging on the kunai's handle, all of the genins raised an eyebrow. Shikamaru examined the kunai closely because he was closest to it. There's a message written here, he exclaimed while yawning. Meet me at training ground 44 in 30 minutes or else. You fail, he read aloud before returning his gaze to everyone. They began to leave the room after hearing those words, while Naruto was deep in thought and stroking his chin. Training ground 44? He asked himself. Sounds suspicious. I should get going to investigate. He stood up from his seat, but instead of going to the door, he went to the window. Hinata's sweet voice stopped him in his tracks before he could leave. Why are you going out the window, Naruto-kun? She inquired. I just need to check on something quickly, Hina-chan, he pretended. You'd better get going, or Shino and Kiba will be wondering where you are. You won't take long, will you? Trust me, I'll be right back. He leaned in and kissed her on the cheek, while she wrapped her arms around him in a hug. Now get going, he said as he jumped out the window, earning a nod from her. Sasuke's eyes twitched in irritation. Apart from Sakura's earlier declaration of her undying love for him, Naruto has less than 2 minutes to complete the team. Only about 10 teams advanced to the second round of exams from hundreds of genins who took the first round. And almost all of the teams had finished their work and were just waiting for the proctor to arrive. Except for Team 7. What's taking so long for that Dobi? Sasuke was clearly irritated at the time. I swear, if we get disqualified because of him, I'm kicking his $1 to the ground. He exclaimed as he looked around. Where has he gone? Is it possible that he picked up Kakashi habit? Sensei's. Sakura was leaning against a rock nearby. She was depressed as a result of what had just happened between her and Sasuke. Yes, she has been completely rejected. No less than a quiet emo. Earlier. Sakura whistled lovingly. "Sasuke-kun. Would you like to hang out after all of this?" she asked, clasping her hands. That was the final straw. The Uchiha wasn't in a good mood right now because he was upset that Naruto could cause their team's disqualification. Furthermore, his thoughts were clearly focused on how to become even stronger after the second test. He clenched his teeth and gave her a scowl. "How many times?" he began to say quietly, raising Sakura's eyebrow. "Do I have to tell you that I am completely uninterested in you?" he yelled, making the pinkette shrink in fear. "Who would want to be with you?" he snarled. "You're annoying, insane, and a loudmouth, to say the least. Even Ino is more likable than you." He smirked, and she felt a jolt of pain in her chest. "If you have something more important to do, go do it. Just don't bother me again, or you'll kick yourself." But she reasoned, but Sasuke silenced her with an intense glare that could kill someone on sight. Sasuke sighed in relief as she looked down at the ground, relieved that he had finally gotten her to stop bugging him. She walked to a nearby rock and sat on the soft grass, not wanting anyone to see her face. Flashback concludes. Strange, she thought as she plucked a blade of grass from the ground and placed it in her hand. Sasuke-kun rejected me earlier, but, she clenched her fist and squeezed some water from the grass. How come I'm not crying? It hurt so much earlier, but I'm not crying. Why? She sighed as she looked over at Sasuke's figure. She had no idea the Uchiha could snap like that. She had always imagined him as a quiet and mysterious man, but who knew he could yell like that? Could it be that my feelings for him are false? She wondered, shaking her head. No. That is not possible. I've always liked Sasuke-kun. There's no way I won't have feelings for him. She was interrupted in her thoughts when she noticed a purple-haired shinobi approaching them, and she didn't have a team with her, so she wasn't a genin. Hinata took another look around to see if Naruto had arrived. She wanted to see him before taking whatever test they had to take. She just hoped they wouldn't have to compete in the second part of the exams. The last thing she wanted to do was hurt Naruto. Oh no, where is he? She wondered, a hint of rage in her voice. Please hurry, Naruto-kun. I don't want you to be disqualified. She began to stomp on the ground in frustration, raising an eyebrow from her two teammates. What's the matter with you, Hinata? Kiba inquired, with Akamaru frowning on top of his head. Are you upset or what? She was startled out of her reverie and turned to face Shino and Kiba. She started twiddling her fingers and came up with an excuse. I'm just nervous about the E-exams, guys, she stutteringly replied. I'm not sure if I can make it through this one. Well, you don't have to worry too much, Hinata. Hinata exclaimed with a wide grin and a thumbs up. We're going to get through this. Shino, who rarely speaks, joined in on the girl's warm smile. We're tracking experts, Hinata, he explained. Believe in yourself a little. They remind me of Naruto-kun, she smiled, but just as she was about to respond, a purple-haired shinobi walked by. She walked past each team and turned to face them all, her back to the forest. Good day, everyone. She exclaimed with a smile. For the second part of the Chunin exams, I'll be your proctor. Mita, I'm the one and only sexiest goddess of Konoha. A loud groan cut her off before she could finish her sentence. Everyone in the room widened their eyes as Naruto approached his team. He didn't approach them from behind. He simply walked out of the forest they were in. Sasuke's brow furrowed, Hinata was concerned, Sakura was stunned, and the purple-haired ninja raised an eyebrow suspiciously at the blonde. How did he get into the forest? She pondered. How did he get out of there? He should have gotten lost if he had gone in there earlier. Naruto sighed and yawned. Why, I got lost twice, but luckily I got out of there. He continues, exhaling a huge sigh of relief. Sasuke stormed over to where he was and stared him down. What do you desire, Teme? Where have you been? Demanded Uchiha. Dobi, you were almost late this time. I swear you're acting like Kakashi-sensei lately. Don't put me in the same category as him. Naruto exploded. In fact, Teme, you should be grateful. Sasuke cocked his brow. I'll have you know that I've been busy scouting the entire forest so we can get around easily. The second part obviously has something to do with this strange forest, so be prepared. Sasuke then burst out laughing, and everyone fell silent. Even his fangirls and the purple-haired Kunoichi were silent. He was the only one laughing. Naruto had had enough after a while, and a tick mark appeared on his head. And what's so amusing about it, Teme? That was a good joke, Dobi, chuckled Sasuke. I needed to laugh. Seriously? You? Scouting? You're not even a sensor or a tracker, are you? With a smirk, he added. Tell me the truth now. What have you been up to? He was then given a punch to the cheek. The Uchiha collapsed, and Naruto made an anime-style pissed-off face. Are you calling me a liar? He yelled. I stated that I was in the forest. Didn't you notice me? Before he could finish his sentence, a fist to the gut knocked him to his knees. And I told you it was all a joke. A tick mark appeared on Sasuke's head as he retorted. So put a stop to it and tell me the truth. Naruto then stood up and butted heads with him, scowling at each other. That's all. I'm having a rematch with you. The blonde posed a challenge. Sasuke's coughed, and the two began punching, kicking, and headbutting each other while insulting each other. Even the Uchiha's fangirls were sweating at the sight of the two. It had been this way since they first arrived at the academy. When one of the two irritated the other, a fight would erupt between them to determine who was superior. Naruto saw it as a way for them to be closer back then, while Sasuke sees it as practice for his future battle with Itachi. Even with all the cheers from Sasuke's fans, none of them have been able to win a single fight so far. Someone would always break them up while fighting, resulting in no winner being declared. They would sometimes act cool and just use words, but most of the time, violence was their response. They had to fight during the Chunin exams, of all places and times? That's probably why everyone started sweating as soon as they started brawling. When Shikamaru decided to go to Team 7 to try to stop the two from fighting, the purple-haired Kunoichi raised a hand and stopped him. Oh, she'd love to see how this plays out. Sakura noticed that everyone was staring at Naruto and Sasuke at the same time. She stood up from her seat and carefully walked over to her two teammates, figuring that if this nonsense between them continued, they'd be embarrassed. The last thing she wanted to do was get caught up in their fight. Even though Sasuke had previously hurt her, he was still her teammate. And, while she knew she was a jerk to Naruto, he was also a teammate. When she got within range of them, she noticed them locking hands and attempting to gain the upper hand. Sasuke-kun? Naruto-kun? She inquired, clearly concerned about what might happen to her. She took a step closer as Naruto nailed the Uchiha with a power slam. When Sasuke stood up, he punched Naruto, and she spoke once more. Please stop this, Sasuke-kun and Naruto-kun. She pleaded, closing her eyes. But she had no idea what was going to happen next. Naruto and Sasuke's fists missed each other and collided with Sakura's face, knocking her to the ground. A few people looked at her in sympathy, but the two continued their brawl, paying no attention to anything or anyone. Sakura lay on the grass, her eyes and mouth wide open. Her teammates' punches had turned the sides of her face bright red. Did they just punch me? She wondered inwardly. Then something inside her snapped. Her fists clenched tighter as a reddish demonic aura emanated from her. She walked back to Naruto and Sasuke, an angry expression on her face and a tick mark on her head. Before they knew it, the girl had grabbed the back of their heads and slammed them together, causing both of them to fall to the ground, with birds flying around in circles above their heads. Everyone looked at her in disbelief. She had just stopped the two rivals from fighting after being punched herself. Her demonic aura remained active, and she clenched her teeth in rage. Naruto and Sasuke both rose to their feet, scowling at Sakura. "Hey, Sakura!" he yelled. "What the hell were you thinking? Can't you tell I'm tired?" He was cut off when he noticed the gigantic Sakura appearing behind her. "No more fighting from you two for the rest of the exams, or you'll both feel my wrath. Do I make myself clear?" She shrieked, making Naruto shiver in fear as Sasuke snorted and waved her off. "You can't tell me anything." Sasuke tried to reason and remain calm, but the giant Sakura appeared in front of him. "Do I make myself clear?" she asked again, this time in a scarier and louder voice, causing the Uchiha to widen his eyes and cave. "Yeah, ma'am." They both replied quickly, shivering, before kneeling on the ground and bowing their heads in fear of Sakura hurting them again. Sakura placed her palms on her hips and began scolding the two in the manner of a mother or sister. Some of the people watching them shivered in fear at seeing Sakura in that state, while others laughed at what had just occurred. While Ino was a huge fan of Sasuke, she couldn't deny that what Sakura did to scare the Uchiha was hilarious. She also had no idea her best friend, rival, could be so cruel. Hinata laughed as she saw Naruto being chastised. Shino and Neji, who were usually stoic, couldn't help but laugh when they saw what happened to Team 7. "That was certainly interesting," said the purple-haired Kunoichi, standing in front of all the genin teams. Sakura had calmed down a few minutes before, much to Naruto and Sasuke's relief. Naruto had no idea his teammate could be so terrifying, while Sasuke reminded himself to be wary of Sakura at all times. "Pay attention, everyone. I'm your proctor for the Chunin exam's second part. The one and only Mitarashi Anko," she exclaimed proudly. "Welcome to the Forest of Death, Training Ground 44. Some of them flinched in fear when they heard the forest's nickname. This is the reaction she desired to see. When she saw Naruto, he was unaffected, even though he had previously stated that he had gone into the forest. Anko smirked and vanished, only to reappear behind Naruto. She held a kunai near his throat and smiled sadistically, making the majority of the genins look terrified. "Brat, too much confidence can get you killed," she purred into his ear. Hinata's brow furrowed in jealousy, and she was about to intervene to separate them when she noticed Naruto smirking. The blonde directed his chakra toward his eyes. Anko was still staring at his face when all of a sudden, Naruto's body became as bright as the sun. The purplette's eyes widened briefly before closing again due to the brightness. She moved away from him, her eyes closed. When she finally opened her eyes, she was surprised to find herself back where she had been before disappearing behind Naruto's back. She looked around for a moment before focusing on the blonde, who was smirking in response to her. That Gaki, she reflected. Did he just do genjutsu on me? How could I have missed it? She gave him a suspicious look. Hey, I remember. He's a student of Kakashi-kun. Of course, he can't just hide his Sharingan. He had to teach some of his own tricks to his students. Anko ignored him for the time being and returned her attention to everyone else. Okay, you little kids, I'll tell you how we're going to do this. Do you see these scrolls? She took 2 small scrolls from the pockets of her jacket. These are the scrolls of heaven and earth. Each team receives one of the scrolls. To pass this test, you must obtain the other from any of the teams and travel to the tower in the middle of the forest. Did you notice that? She indicated the large tower in the distance. That's where you should all go. You have 5 days to find the scroll and get to the tower, or your team will be disbanded. What about food? Asked Choji, a fat, don't call him that, genin who took another handful of potato chips. Choji is an Akamichi clan member in the current heir. Along with Shikamaru and Ino, he is a member of Team 10. If you get hungry, you can go hunting. The goal of this test is to assess your team's survival skills as well as your ability to adapt to the situation at hand. She then appeared out of nowhere with a stack of documents. Please sign these so that Konoha is not held responsible for your deaths. It's not called the Forest of Death for nothing, she said with a sadistic grin. After everyone signed the documents, Anko distributed one scroll to each team, and they all proceeded to their respective gates. We head straight for the tower, said Naruto, staring at the forest in front of him. We can set up traps for anybody if we get there first, then we take the Heaven Scroll. 5 minutes were left before their team enters the forest with all the other teams at the other gates. They were assigned to the 4th gate. The blonde turned back to his teammates. Do you two understand? Sakura nodded while Sasuke's coughed, which was an action that wasn't missed by Naruto. Is there a problem, Sasuke? He stated, trying to act calm. What a stupid idea, the Uchiha plainly said. You're going to get us killed with that tactic. Well, do you have any ideas then? Any plan will be good, said Naruto sarcastically with a tick mark on his head. The Uchiha glared at him as the tension grew once more. But then Sakura cleared her throat as she started to emit the demonic aura on her earlier again. Sasuke scowled, snorted, and looked away once more. Whatever, let's just get this over with. He never noticed Naruto smirking at him because of his fear towards Sakura. But things didn't go well for Naruto too when he felt the Pinkette's fist towards the back of his head. The hell was that for? Naruto yelled. 5 minutes have already passed, growled Sakura. Aren't you supposed to lead us inside the place? Or were you playing with us earlier? She began to once more emit her demonic aura, causing Naruto to sweat. In an instant, Naruto was already by the trees. Let's go, guys, he called out in an innocent tone. Wouldn't want to finish last now, do we? He added before continuing on his way, followed by Sakura, who was smirking, and Sasuke, who was muttering about what happened to the sweet and annoying girl that he was with earlier. 5 hours later, 6 p.m. The sun was already setting down and Team 7 decided to spend the night under a large tree because it would be pointless to continue on searching for the other scroll at night. They haven't gotten a Heaven Scroll yet, more so. They got too confident and cocky earlier during when they stepped foot inside Training Ground 44 for the first time. They thought they had their eyes on all directions at first, but they were proven wrong when they got ambushed by another Genin team from Otogakure. The enemy was fast, but their true goal wasn't to knock Naruto and his teammates out. They took the Earth Scroll from Sakura and ran off. The blonde was about to use his meteor earlier, but Sasuke proved the results of his training by getting to them first. The Uchiha did a pretty good job of holding them off, and when Naruto and Sakura finally caught up to them, they defeated the Auto group and managed to retrieve their scroll. Because of that incident, that got Naruto to become more serious. They continued running for an hour, until Sasuke saw another group of Genins. It was Team 10. Sakura fought Sakura, Naruto took on Choji, while Sasuke battled Shikamaru. It was a tough fight for Team 7, considering that they were up against a team that used their brains to fight and worked from a distance. Ultimately, Naruto, Sakura, and Sasuke eventually gained the upper hand because of the latter's Sharingan and took out Asuma Sarutobi's team. Naruto silently thanked Sasuke because he saved him from using his Uchtengan. But then afterwards, the trio learned the depressing truth that Team 10 had the same scroll like them. All that work for nothing. With that, they continued on their way and hoped to encounter another Genin team, but sadly, they didn't. The next hours for them was spent with just running. The trio sat down and brought out their bento boxes of food. Naruto was about to dig into his delicious food when Sasuke stood up and took something from his small backpack. Assume that all Genins brought small backpacks. Sakura became curious and asked, Sasuke-kun, what are you holding? The Uchiha ignored her and placed 4 sheets of tags with seals on them on the ground around them. Both Naruto and Sakura exchanged puzzled looks. Sasuke then went to the center of the area, where they were, and attached another tag to the tree. He then made some hand gestures before slamming his palm on the ground and yelling, "Conceal." An orange barrier formed around them, with the corners containing the seal tags Sasuke had placed. Naruto and Sakura's mouths dropped open. What the hell did Sasuke just do? Hey, Teme, what happened? Sasuke sat back down on the ground and started eating, ignoring Naruto's question. He still didn't respond a few moments later, and Naruto got a tick mark on his head. "Are you not going to respond to me?" He mumbled, "Worm minvishablum," but the blonde couldn't understand him because his mouth was full. "What?" said Naruto, as Sasuke quickly chewed and swallowed his meal. "I told you we're invisible." His 2 teammates gave him a puzzled look, causing Sasuke to sigh and facepalm. "The 5 seals I placed formed a barrier that will keep us hidden from anyone outside. In other words, we're unnoticed. Do you understand now?" he muttered. "Wait, what?" Naruto asked. "How is that possible? Are you certain about what you're saying? Or are you just teasing us? This barrier may only serve as a deterrent." Sasuke smirked as he sipped some soup. "Confirm for yourself, Dobi." Naruto stood up and walked outside the orange barrier. His eyes widened and his mouth hung open a few seconds later. Sakura just stared at Naruto, while the Uchiha smirked at his expression. The blonde returned to his seat and resumed eating, but he maintained the expression he had earlier. "Does it sound true?" Sakura inquired, sipping water from a jug. Naruto nodded slowly, and the pinkette's eyes widened as she turned to face Sasuke. "Where did you learn to do that, Sasuke-kun?" she inquired, raising an eyebrow at her unusual behavior. Strange, he thought. She used to irritate the hell out of me, but she no longer does. What happened to her? The raven-haired boy shook his head to clear his mind before speaking again and taking another bite of his food. "One of my clan's techniques. I came across the scroll containing it while visiting the other houses in the Uchiha compound." "Wow!" exclaimed Sasuke-kun. "You certainly know some cool jutsus." Sakura exclaimed, "You're so awesome." But Sasuke ignored her. "Damn," Naruto grumbled. "And here I was thinking I could learn whatever jutsu that was so I could be invisible as well." "Do you want me to make you invisible right now?" smirked Sasuke, raising an eyebrow. "I can punch you hard enough to launch you into the neighboring village, and then you'll be invisible." For a brief moment, there was tension in their location as Naruto scowled at Sasuke's remark. Sakura was preparing to intervene at any time to prevent a fight from breaking out. The last thing she needed right now was to attract an enemy team due to the noise they'd make. Naruto's scowl vanished and he burst out laughing, causing Sakura to raise an eyebrow in confusion. Didn't he feel insulted? She thought to herself. She turned to look at Sasuke, who was trying hard not to laugh. Her pupils dilated. Sasuke-kun is giggling. "Oh, yeah, you just do it, Teme. And when I return. Because you can't see me. I'll take you to the next village farther away than the one where I landed." In between laughs, Naruto said. "If something like that ever happens, I'm bringing you along, Dobi. We're both aware. You've never defeated me." Even back then, Sasuke continued between bursts of laughter, finally succumbing to his emotions. The next few minutes were filled with laughter and comedic moments as Naruto and Sasuke played with each other like brothers. It was a first for the Pinkette to see the two of them getting along so well. She was completely taken aback. She knows Naruto as Sasuke's main rival in the academy, and the two were constantly fighting and arguing, but she never imagined them laughing together in the same place and at the same time. After minutes of confusion and surprise, she finally gave up and all disciplining thoughts left her mind as she joined the laughing Uchiha and Uzumaki. The rest of their dinner was peaceful in terms of fights, but not in terms of laughter, which was the polar opposite of what she expected. Sakura imagined the two of them earlier, before eating, arguing over trivial matters that required her to intervene and reprimand them. But they ate their meals with a smile on their faces. She discovered several new things about herself today. She could stop a full-fledged Naruto vs Sasuke brawl in its tracks. Sasuke could actually smile like a normal person, and Naruto was a pretty decent boy to be around with. They were about to go to bed, wanting to get up early the next day so they could finish the test as soon as possible. They used nearby leaves as bedding, and Sasuke was the first of the three to sleep. Naruto was pleased that he and Sasuke were acting like real friends earlier, something he had wished for since Makoto's death at the hands of Itachi changed the Uchiha's personality dramatically. For him, all of their arguments and fights were proof that they were friends, which was unusual for normal people. And, if that wasn't strange enough, Naruto purposefully insulted him all the time because he believes Sasuke enjoys messing with him. It was unusual for Sasuke to even smile, let alone laugh. He gave in to his true feelings because, for one thing, they couldn't be seen and, for another, he needed the entertainment and laughs to at least calm down. He was so intent on killing Itachi that a little fun wouldn't hurt to calm him down. He did, after all, enjoy laughing with his former best friend, Naruto. The blonde removed his orange jacket, leaving him in a green t-shirt, which he stuffed inside his backpack. He then removed his forehead protector before feeling someone tap his shoulder. When he turned around, he noticed Sakura staring at him. He looked behind her and saw that Sasuke was already fast asleep. "What is it?" he asked, returning his gaze to the pinkette. Sakura swallowed and shifted her gaze away from him. She stammered. "I just wanted to apologize for how I treated you back then." Naruto's eyes widened slightly as she said this. "I was mistaken about you. You're a lot of fun to be around, and I can see why Hinata stays with you all the time. It's really not a problem." Naruto responded. "In any case, I'm used to being treated differently. Just make it easier by being the Tamiz fangirl, okay? I know you're madly in love with him, but keep it cool. I think you're annoying whenever this happens." She laughed nervously. "Don't worry, that won't happen right away." She returned his stare. She leaned in and pressed her lips to his cheek without warning, pulling away in less than a second with a blush on her face. Naruto just sat there, stunned by what she had just witnessed. She shook her head as she noticed the silence. "Thank you," she said before falling asleep on the bedding. Naruto's mouth hung open in surprise as he looked at his teammate. He smiled after a few seconds and continued putting his forehead protector inside his pack before lying down on the bedding as well. "I guess she's not so bad after all," he thought before falling asleep. Tomorrow. After a good night's sleep, Team 7 was pumped. They spent the night ending in joy and laughter rather than fighting and insults, for which they awoke earlier than expected, and all of them were eager to continue on. They resumed their run through the tree branches to reach the tower after Sasuke removed the barrier that rendered them invisible. Everything was fine until Sakura noticed her limbs becoming weaker by the second. As a result, her pace slowed significantly. "What the hell is wrong with me? Why am I feeling so weak all?" Before she could finish her sentence, she tripped on one of the branches she stepped on and fell to the ground. Naruto and Sasuke both noticed her and returned to investigate. They were looking for Sakura's body when they heard someone laughing in front of them. The duo's eyes widened as they noticed a white-skinned man with purple linings near his eyes, who resembled a snake, holding Sakura up by her dress collar. "Are you looking for this?" he asked, laying the girl's body down. He stepped on the girl's back and licked his lips in delight as he examined the Uchiha from head to toe alongside Naruto. "Yes, Sasuke-kun is the ideal vessel, he reasoned. I shall have his eyes. He exclaimed as he charged towards the two genins, Naruto and Sasuke, dropping into battle stances. Canonical Naruto and Sasuke vs. Orochimaru. Except Naruto didn't use Kurama's chakra, which means Naruto held him off without using Kyuubi. Sakura opened her eyes to find herself lying on the ground. She knelt down and brushed the dirt off her dress. Wait, where are Naruto and Sasuke-kun? She thought. She looked around and noticed that both of her teammates were dead on the ground. Sasuke-kun. Naruto. She exclaimed, leaping to her feet and sprinting over to the two of them. Please wake up. She begged, gently tugging on their clothing. However, they did not respond. Before she heard footsteps behind her, tears welled up in her eyes. When she turned around, she noticed two ninjas wearing Otogakure forehead protectors. Please understand that we are adversaries during this test. But I can't let them die in this place. Please assist me. She said, eliciting a dark chuckle from both ninjas. Do you really think we're here to help you, brat? One of them, who had a girl's voice, asked. What? Sakura inquired. What is your name? Enough questions, the kunoichi stated emphatically. Stand aside and hand over Uchiha Sasuke, and we will not harm you. She exclaimed, widening Sakura's eyes. And no. No, I'm not going to let you take Sasuke-kun. She fired back. It appears that you will not succumb to simple talk. Uchiha appears to be someone you care about. Tell you what, if you keep opposing us, you'll end up meeting the tip of my kunai. You will not be harmed if you simply give him to us now. Sakura wiped her tears away and stood up, kunai at the ready. I will never give you Sasuke-kun. To protect him, I will defeat you too. Even if it means my death. She charged at them, her rage uncontrollable. Pathetic, the other Auto Nin muttered under his breath. Sakura vs. Sound Team. Only until she shaves her head. Naruto slowly opened his eyes to see Sasuke standing beside him, his eyes also closed. He then heard some screaming not too far away and slowly sat up, grabbing the back of his head in pain. When he turned around, he saw that the white-skinned man with whom they had been fighting had vanished. As he stood up, he wondered, where the hell did he go? Who was he, and what did he do to Sasuke? He wondered as he approached the fallen Uchiha and noticed a strange marking on his neck. He raised an eyebrow in perplexity. What exactly is this? Could this be some kind of... He was interrupted in his thoughts by another scream in the distance. That voice, he thought, before remembering who it was. Sakura. He exclaimed as he realized who was screaming and ran towards where he heard her voice. When he arrived, he discovered she had been beaten. Pinkette's hair was so short that it reached just below her jawline. Her body was covered in bruises and scrapes, and she was up against two Auto Genin. To his utter surprise, she was successfully repelling them with only a kunai as a weapon. Seeing his teammate fight fearlessly against two shinobi changed Naruto's perception of her. She wasn't the annoying, loudmouth fangirl she used to be. She had evolved. Sakura was then blasted away by the two's double-team attack, which sent her to the ground panting heavily. She attempted to sit up, but her body was in too much pain. She clenched her teeth and turned to face the two approaching shinobi. That brat was delicious, wasn't she? Asked the girl, looking at her teammate, who only grunted back. Don't you think we should finish it? Of course, said the gentleman. Naruto decided to make his presence known at this point. He shunshined out of the bushes he was hiding in and appeared in front of Sakura, his face calm and emotionless, causing the Pinkette's eyes to widen. And Naruto. She exclaimed as the two Auto Nin scowled at the blonde. I heard you needed help, Sakura, Naruto said, looking behind him. These guys bothering you? He smirked as tears sting the pinkette's eyes. And Naruto, despite the fact that I was so cruel to you. I'm so sorry. She slowly nodded her head. Don't be concerned, Sakura. He smiled and gave her a thumbs up. I'll take care of these guys. Get some rest now, you look like shit. And what the hell happened to your hair? He laughed.
She smiled softly as tears streamed down her cheeks.
Why, you're correct, Naruto. I look like, she muttered before succumbing to the sweet unconsciousness. Naruto cast another glance behind him and discovered her unconscious. He gave her a worried look before returning his attention to the enemy. Naruto versus the sound team. It makes no difference who you are, brat, the Auto Nin Kunoichi said. You'll suffer the same fate as your little friend. It is Orochimaru's wish. Sama's, she charged at him with her kunai in hand.
Naruto scoffed and averted his gaze.
I have no idea who this Orochimaru guy is, but here's the thing.
You two jerks just hurt my friend, and I'm not going to stand for it.
He turned around to face her as she swung her kunai.
In only 4 actions, the blonde closed his eyes, dodged her strike, grabbed her kunai arm with kunai in hand, and kneed her in the gut, causing her to scream in pain before Naruto threw a chop at her neck, knocking her unconscious.
Zaku, her sound teammate, was taken aback by what he saw. Kin, a near Chunin-level shinobi of Otogakure, had just been knocked out by the blonde brat in front of him. He took a battle stance and glared at the boy. Don't underestimate this brat. He just took Kin out with no effort.
Are you going to stand there or fight?
Naruto asked, his hands in his pockets. He yelled, foolish brat. I'll show you who you're up to. He charged forward, dousing the blonde in kunai. In response, Naruto made a familiar hand seal. Kage Bunshin no Jutsu.
Says one.
3 Naruto clones appeared, and they all caught the kunais Zaku threw and threw them back at him.
Zenka. Zaku channeled chakra into his arms before unleashing a powerful gust of wind on the blonde.
Naruto hadn't expected him to do that, and he was frozen in place as all of the kunai approached quickly, causing one of his clothes to push him out of the way, causing him to be sacrificed in the process. When the wind collided with the nearby trees, a small explosion occurred. The blonde saw this as an opportunity to use his true power to quickly finish this battle so he could tend to his teammates and check on their condition. Raisei, he exhaled, flying behind Zaku at breakneck speed. The Auto Nin never noticed him because he was too caught up in his own world, believing that he had killed the blonde out of joy. Naruto punched him in the back when he was within range, causing Zaku's eyes to widen as he tried to look behind him to see who had attacked him, but he was sent flying towards a tree, causing another small explosion. The light that had been covering Naruto dissipated as he whistled in awe. Damn, I had no idea a punch while using meteor could be that powerful, he thought. It was correct. He has only ever used his signature transportation technique to push people a long distance and to act as a battering ram. After a minute, there was still no response from Zaku. I think I killed him, I thought. Zaku slowly emerged from the tree he had crashed into, glaring daggers at Naruto. You'll pay for it, you brat. He screamed, channeling chakra into his arm once more, but this time he increased the amount. Zanki Kuka. He yelled, releasing a stronger gust of wind towards Naruto than the previous time. The blonde smirked and vanished in a flash of yellow light, widening Zaku's eyes. He started looking in different directions, looking for a possible sneak attack, when he felt a strong kick to his back, sending him flying again, but this time he managed to stop himself from going too far. He looked up to see 100 Naruto clones appear beside him, all smirking. The clones charged at him and started attacking. After a merciless 10-second beating, the real Naruto delivered an uppercut, causing Zaku to spit out a handful of blood. Barrage on Naruto Uzumaki. As a result of the impact, Zaku flew into the air before crashing back to the ground, defeated. All of the blonde's clones vanished in a cloud of smoke before he detected another chakra signature in the area. He turned his head in the direction he had sensed it and saw another ninja wearing the same forehead protector as the two auto nin he had just encountered. Dōjutsu, the last remaining member of the sound team, stared at Naruto and his two teammates behind him. They were lying on the ground, and he looked at the boy, stunned. When he saw that both Zaku and Kin had been defeated, leaving only Naruto standing, he did the only thing a rational person would do at the time: he ran away. Naruto smirked at the fleeing shinobi as he piled the two unconscious bodies against a nearby tree. He then went through their belongings in search of the Heaven Scroll. Despite the fact that the Auto team attempted to kill them, they were still allowed to take the exams. He smiled as he returned to Sasuke and Sakura, who were both still unconscious, holding the scroll they had been looking for since yesterday. "Hey, wake up, you two," he tried calling out, hoping to elicit a response. "Come on, give me something, show me you're awake now," he said a little louder, but neither of them moved. Naruto sighed and shook his head before sitting beside their two bodies, deep in thought. "What should I do?" he asked himself. "We now have both scrolls, but I can't continue with Sasuke and Sakura unconscious." He looked at his two teammates before coming up with an idea. "Wait a minute," he said as he activated his Uchtengan and flew up with his meteor. He smiled as he realized the tower in the middle of the forest was only a mile away. He returned to the ground and gathered all of their belongings. Sasuke was up on Naruto's shoulders in a fireman's carry position half a minute later, while Sakura was in his arms, bridal style. He sighed and looked up at the sky. He sighed and inhaled deeply. "Why do I have to carry the team throughout this test?" he grumbled internally. "I hope this works. Rise!" he screamed, covering himself in bright light as he flew up into the sky. As he flew, he felt his chakra draining quickly, which was a first for Naruto. This was the first time in his life as a shinobi that he felt his chakra draining quickly. During his battle with Haku, he didn't even feel weakened. He flew over to the trees near the tower as soon as he saw a landing spot, and the yellow light around his body vanished. As he coughed and panted in exhaustion, he threw Sakura, Sasuke, and their backpacks to the ground. He crept over to his bag and drank from his jug of water. "Damn," he grumbled. "If I had known that carrying people while using my meteor takes a toll on me." To freshen himself up even more, the blonde drenched himself in the cold liquid from his jug. He decided to sleep until his two friends woke up. After an hour, Naruto awoke from his nap to the sound of his name being called. He yawned, stretched, and opened his eyes to find Sakura staring at him. "Oh, Sakura-chan, good to see you awake," Naruto said. She blushed slightly at the suffix Naruto had added to her name before shaking her head and returning to the subject at hand. "What happened, Naruto-kun?" "We were attacked, and I passed out while fighting two enemy shinobis, as far as I recall." "Simple, really. I thrashed those assailants, and the problem was solved," he declared, pleased with himself for once. "We no longer have anything to be concerned about." "Hey, Dobi," said a voice Naruto recognized. Naruto turned to face Sasuke, who had the same smug expression on his face before being knocked unconscious. "How did we end up here?" "We were nowhere near the tower earlier, but it's now just out there," he pointed to the tower's entrance, which was outside of the trees. "You two were out cold earlier, so I figured we should get going even if you were. I just made 2 cage buncheons to transport you both all the way here. I napped afterwards because I was exhausted." Naruto told a lie. Then get up, lazy pants, Sasuke said, turning around and staring into the trees. Before we can pass this test, we need to wait for an incoming team to bring us a heaven scroll. Or have you completely forgotten about the plan you devised, Dobi? Actually, we already have one, Naruto revealed, raising an eyebrow from his two friends. Here, look, he said, pulling the heaven scroll from his pocket, and Sakura and Sasuke both stood there stunned. The pinkette took it and returned an incredulous look to the blonde. How did we get one, and why can't I remember? She exclaimed. Naruto rose and brushed the dirt from his clothes. Didn't I tell you I beat up those people who attacked us earlier? He inquired, and Sakura nodded. Well, luck was on my side, and they had the heaven scroll. So we can finally get to that tower. He sheepishly grinned, and Sasuke smirked. Well, then, those attackers are weak, considering you beat them, he said as he walked towards the tower. If I had been there, you big baby, I could have helped you, so why didn't you wake me up? In a mocking tone, he added. Sakura gave Naruto a worried look, and the blonde was lost in thought. What do I have to do, Sasuke, to wake you up from your own dream world? Naruto inquired quietly. Meanwhile, I'll let Sasuke-kun feel the power of the curse mark first, Orochimaru said, licking his lips. Orochimaru, Jiraiya, and Tsunade were all Sannin, the three great legendary ninja, under the tutelage of Hiruzen Sarutobi, the third Hokage. He defected from the village a long time ago, and it is said that no one in the village can compete with him one-on-one except the Sandaime himself. He was watching Team 7 from a nearby location where he couldn't be seen. However, he said to Naruto. Earlier, that blonde brat put up quite a fight with me. He's more powerful than I thought. Additionally, in his mind, he recalled Naruto's body glowing yellow. I've never seen a technique that can do such a thing before. Oh my goodness, this is fascinating. This time, my attention was drawn not only to a Uchiha, but also to a rather good brat. He began to walk away, giving the two genins one last look. You two keep impressing me. I'm not sure I've seen your true potential.
That's it for today. If you enjoyed this video, give it a big thumbs up and subscribe to my channel for more awesome stories like this. Thank you. See you all in my next video.